In this episode, we're going to introduce you to a group that is bringing a classic rock sound back to the current music scene. It's time to meet Dutchman. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. If you're new or if you're returning, welcome aboard. We've got a great episode for you. You could check us out on our socials, YouTube. What are the other ones? Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. Those are the three big ones that we're on, and most people are on that. And if you want to go a step further and you want to support independent creators like us, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/3324, become a Green Room supporter. That's buymeacoffee.com/3324. Enough of that. Business is out of the way. I want to get to this exciting episode that we have. So there's a group that I've been following on Instagram, and their name is Dutchman. And they've got a fantastic sound. They just released 2 new singles, and I'm happy that I was able to secure some time with these gentlemen. But first, I want to introduce you to the whole group. It's a 4-piece, and they're from Delaware. We've got Connor Johnson on guitar. We've got Garrett Gravatt on guitar, or Gravatt.
Gravatt.
Yeah. There's a third way. Franco Solorzano is on keyboards and bass, and then just the singular named Fez on drums. And that is Dutchman. And I'm happy to have 50% of the band here today. We've got Connor Johnson and Garrett Gravatt with us.
Hello, everybody.
So guys, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for making the time. We're going to drop links into the show notes so you can visit them on Spotify. You can visit them on YouTube, and go visit their website, because that's where they throw everything in there, where they're playing, what they have going on, other things outside of the Spotify universe, all goes to their website too. So we'll have links for all 3 of those where you can check it out and just highly bookmark it and give them a listen. And hopefully you will after we're done here. So first off, guys, congratulations. Dutchman has 2 singles out right now. I Need You Now and In Your Heart. Guys, congratulations on those. They are.
Thank you very much.
If you only lived the year we did to get them out.
Well, why don't we start there then? Give us the year that you've lived to get these songs out. Was it a monumental task?
So we don't know how to pick and choose what we want to do. So we work about 4 days a week, 12 hours a day, and half the week is spent recording in my studio, as you see here, and then the other half is playing gigs. Because, like I said, we don't know how to do one thing at once. So it was about a year on and off of getting them how we wanted them, finishing the overdubs on them. So we had heard them in 2023, like early 2023, and I've been working on them since then, right up until about December 6th last year.
Monumental indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Garrett was quoted on calling it the Delaware Compromise.
The great Delaware Compromise, yeah.
So, are you guys satisfied with where it ended up, though? Music can be a thing. It can, right? Sometimes you could be taking so long to get it perfect, and you may never get there, right? So, was this one of those things?
I think there's always little nuances for everybody when they put something out. They're like, maybe that little thing there, maybe that little. But like overall, I'd say I'm very pleased with how they came out. I don't know how this guy thinks, but
he's the magic man behind the board nowadays. I used to do all the engineering and producing when volume 1, 2, and 3 came out, and then he got so good at it, I was like, what the hell am I doing it for?
So Garrett, you produce these?
Yeah, I co-produced. You definitely needed someone leading the. If the guy wrote the song, and there's great producers that have alternative motives, but I mean, for the most part, you want to shape it every which way the songwriter initially intended the thing to be. So every time I do something, I always ask him, "Hey, are you good with that? Or what do you hear what are you not hearing that you should be hearing?" Or something.
I'll give him that. Nowadays, it's more or less, this is what I hear in my head. Magic man, here you go. And he usually nails it. I mean, we've been working together for over 6 years now with him in the passenger seat in terms of, executing, producing stuff and all that stuff. So he's got a pretty good handle on where to take it without me even saying anything.
Okay. So Garrett is guitarist, producer, and mind reader.
Yes.
And bassist.
Yeah. And bassist if you ask NBC.
Yeah. Well, I saw the clip on YouTube that you guys had done locally. where you performed Need You Now, and you were playing bass.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I was playing his dad's P bass, 76 P bass.
Yeah, my dad was younger than we are now when he bought that. He was 20 and 76 and bought it because he won a lottery ticket at Manny's Music in New York.
Yep.
That thing thought it was retired, and then it met me.
It has been resuscitated. I have to say that, you know, the two new singles, what catches me as a music listener is I like stuff that is well arranged and sounds good. That's just like where my musical, where it hits. So from hearing I Need You Now from the beginning, it hit me with the way the pianos are layered in, the strings at the end. But done in a tasteful way. It's not, you're not hit over the head with it. You almost don't, when it's really good, you almost don't realize it. And that's what I get with this song.
It just flows the whole way through. Yeah. Nothing's abrupt. Yeah.
I got to give Franco a lot of credit on that, because it was much like me and Franco used to do a lot of the arranging together. Mm-hmm. And we'd sit here for hours. He'd be like, well, what do you hear? And I'd hum him what I'd want. So all the string section is just basically I hummed it to him and he worked it out on the piano. And then the piano solo, he's like, what do you want? I was like, play like In My Life by the Beatles, like how pretty what George Martin did on that. But I said, but play something so good nobody will ever try to play it again. And that's what he came up with, about half asleep at about midnight on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I tell you, it works. It absolutely hits all the right emotional notes, but still kind of rocks, and I dig it. And then, of course, In Your Heart is kind of a little bit more of your kind of a country tinge.
Yeah,
right from the jump with that guitar.
Absolutely.
So that one, that was a rough birth. So that song I wrote right after Volume 3 was done, I think. And we took a year playing just gigs, and then we try to keep a schedule, so we release at least something, whether it's a record or a single or a pair of singles, once a year, if not twice a year. Mm-hmm. And it came time for 2022's single. So we went into Electric Fossil Studios. It's one of the only tracks not recorded here. It's in Milford. It's about a stone's throw away from here south. And we worked with Kirby Fitzgerald, who's been our engineer and friend for about 8 years since the band started. Mm-hmm. And the arrangement didn't really hit. Like, some of the parts were done good. The bass track was done well. The piano parts that Franco did were good, but the drums were too driving. Like, it was more electric sounding. There was a dobro on it, and a whole slew of country instruments we had never touched before that day. Yeah. So we listened to it. We didn't really like it, so we actually opted for On the Run to be the single, which really, I guess, in the end was the best move. But after 2 more years of sussing out what we thought, that's how it came out. That's the best description I have of that.
So did you? So in 2022, when you felt it wasn't working, did you just shelve it, or were you still tinkering with it, or did you just like kind of put it away and it needs to go away so I can reassess it with a fresh look, or was it something just always?
This is what makes him great, because I hated it the way it was. I was like, oh no. I was like, nah, it's too country for us. Not that I like the diversity sound that we have, that we can kind of do one thing and then another and then another and then another and then cross back to something else. But I didn't like it. I was like, he's like, you wrote it. How do you not like it? And I was like, no, I don't like it. I said, shelve it. He pounded me into the ground on that one for months. Like, no, I'm telling you, it's good. It just needs to be done right.
So Garrett, what were you hearing then, Garrett? What were you hearing that Connor wasn't?
The arrangement,
where he was ready to let it go and say, listen, just dustbin it.
Yeah, so like the arrangement itself to me, because I mean, you hear it, right? I mean, it like you said, it was more bombastic and hard going at first, but however, the overall arrangement was, you started off, you got your verses, and then when you do your chorus, everything rises, and then, and then it comes to the 3 breakdowns toward the end there. We threw a upright bass. Cello.
Yeah, there's a live
1, 2, 3. Yeah, live cello or upright bass.
So the gentleman who played half of the slide parts that you hear, the main just straight guitar slide parts, it's Connor O'Malley. I went to 6th grade middle school with that guy, and we've been best friends ever since. And he is one of the best musicians, if not probably, honestly, just the best musician I've ever met. He can hear something and play it. Like, we played Freebird on Saturday night as our closer, like just the ending solo, and he nailed the whole thing, and I just kind of joined in on the second part. But he did the slide, he did the cello, he did, I think he did the original bass part, and then we ended up changing it before we left that studio just to get a better sound. I think we started with a Hofner and ended with a P bass. But he, that's what got the slide. And then we had another gentleman named Hayden Chance, somebody I met when I first moved down here in 2016 to Delaware. Yeah. And he did all the pedal steel guitar that's in it, that's kind of droning in the back. Yeah. That came later. I think the time gap between Kirby's studio and when the lap steel got put on was about 2.5 years.
Wow. The lap steel was the final on, because Rick, it's everything we wanted it to be as a country track, but like it wasn't quite there. You needed a little more ambience, a little more to it, depth.
Yeah, and lap steel will always do that. It is like lap steel is like the cherry on top.
Yeah,
it was always like that one little finishing touch that kind of brings it to another level.
Absolutely.
Because you get such a sound out of it.
I told him I wanted Graham Nash style lap steel. That was my reference. Which he was like, I've never heard that before. I didn't know anybody knew who he was anymore besides Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, his first solo record. Go listen to that. I want that on.
Wow, some deep influences. So and I want to talk about your influences, but let's kind of turn the dial back a little bit and take us through the origin of Dutchman. When did you guys start? How did you guys start? Why?
So Who
are you? What are you about?
Who are you? What are you doing?
So in 2016, I moved from New Jersey to Delaware. I'm from the area like Wall Township, Belmar, Asbury Park area. And I moved down here, and the band that me and the other Connor were in together kind of fizzled up because it was about 6 years at that time. So when I got down here, I waited about a year, and I was like, all right, I got to do something because I'm a musician. I'm getting the itch. So I went on Craigslist and was checking through ads, hoping not to get murdered. And I found one, and it said, my name is Jake, and I'm looking to start a band. Here's my phone number. So I texted him, and it ended up being Jake Dutcher, where Dutchman comes from. And me and him started the band. We met at a Food Lion, which is kind of like a shop. I don't know if you know what a Food Lion or a ShopRite or any of that stuff is. Just in the parking lot. And we had a cigarette. We were talking. We were like, yeah, we think we could make something of this. So the first 2 records were almost just me and him. So I played all the instruments on volume 1 and 2. And then for my songs, it was just me. And then for his songs, he would sing and help arrange how he wanted to hear it. For volume 3, Garrett joined before volume 2 came out. But for volume 3, that's really where Garrett started coming in. And then Fez was in for volume 1. But he wasn't doing much arranging yet. He was just kind of picking up my arrangements. I'm not sure how deep you want me to go. I can go like 5 different avenues.
No, it's great. Keep going.
We started in my mom's guest room as our studio with a MacBook. Now it's a little bigger. Now we have a studio here and a warehouse up north where we rehearse, and then a new studio we're building up north called the Clubhouse. Hold on one sec. That's the fire whistle. I don't know how good you can hear me.
It's coming through. That's fine. And it's gone.
I was gonna say that's a Delaware thing.
We're in town limits.
Yeah, they don't believe in radios here.
Sorry, there's always something going on in Delaware, huh?
Yeah, Delaware. Yeah, there's 6 people in the state. 5 of them are sitting right in front of you. But yeah, in 2018, 19 is when our writing started getting good. Like, we have demos from the first day we actually ever met. But, nothing of note worth, I would say. It's just a matter of us just getting our poop in a group. So around 2018, 2019, we started kind of getting the writing together and started learning about the recording. And then by 2019, we went into Electric Fossil Studios for the first time. And we actually cut These Days off volume 2 first. And it was the same deal with, like, In Your Heart. We didn't necessarily want to use it at first. And I think last year, Jake's song off of volume 2 was recorded for volume 1 as well. And those 2 got shelved. And then ironically, the whole record you end up hearing got done 2 months later between Kirby's and our studio.
Yeah. Great. So and there are three volumes of EPs.
Yes.
So for anybody that's looking to kind of go, when you click on those links in Spotify, or if you go to YouTube Music, wherever you go, there's three separate EPs, kind of, yeah, and there's an evolution. So how do you guys think where do you think you started, and where do you think you are now when you look back at either the creative process, songwriting?
So we were very
thank you for the question, but that's a loaded one.
Yeah, Jake has more of a punk influence, and I have more of a 70s. As I tell my wife, these sideburns don't lie, baby. But so we were more. If you were to hear some of our early stuff, you go, whoa, totally different avenue. Like, I'm sure you heard "Run, Run, Run" on Volume 1. That's like a very good last taste of how we were before that record came out. We were more punkish, more heavy rock driven, and then just slowly over time, and especially after Jake took his departure, I took over writing all the songs and singing. It kind of just started leaning towards what I grew up with. It's very, to me, it doesn't feel like much of a change. It just feels like another day at the office. But when you sit down all at one time and listen to everything back to front, you're like, oh, I can hear it now. Volume 1 was probably my favorite to record because it was the most simplistic to the sound I wanted. It's more or less just a 4-piece band with slight overdubs. Volume 2 was hell. That was during COVID. Volume 1 came out the day the COVID restrictions locked down.
Oh boy.
So we went right into the studio and started making Volume 2. And we were like, well, why can't we make Abbey Road? So that's how that happened. That's why there's so much arrangements and it's so articulated and tight the way it is. Volume 3, I think, is maybe his favorite record.
Favorite?
It's not mine.
Can we count singles as records? Because I wouldn't say favorite, but it was definitely a really cool experience. That's a fact.
I feel, and this is nothing against me or Jake writing the songs or the guys playing their instruments, because it's a very well produced record. It's a very well written record. That one, I don't feel like we got any further. I feel like we kind of just stagnated after Volume 2, which was probably because we went into the studio a little quick. We finished Volume 2 and then went right back in the studio in 2 months.
And our engineering wasn't quite honed either, and we want to get back into that.
Yeah,
little remastering going on, but that's in the future. I
think with Volume 3, I like more just specifically the songs that are on it. So like I think these days there's 2 versions of these days. There's the orchestral version and then the band version, the live version. I like the live version more, so I feel like that did it justice. Find a Way Out, Jake's song, I think is the most fantastic song that he wrote with Dutchman, in my opinion. I mean, that between that and the ending of Volume 2 that me and him did with the melody, like kind of like Abbey Road thing. And then Hey Now is pretty good.
Hey Now was cool. That was a really nice collective. We all just kind of, that was it on that one, especially Franco's part, because that guy, he really just he wasn't even hired yet. I mean, he was a friend of Jake's at their.
Not to run away, my wife's calling my phone. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Later while you're over there. But so he was already an acquaintance of Jake Dutchman, Franco, and they were co-workers. And then he's like, I have this guy. He plays piano. He says he's interested in coming over. And we're like, okay, why not? This guy comes in. He's all super nice. He's a really church-going man. He's the nicest guy there ever could be. He makes everyone's day a little better when he walks in. You know what I mean? And he's just like sitting down. I'm like, what do you do, man? What do you do? Sit down at the piano. He's warming up to he's just noodling, right? Beethoven, stuff like that. You know, he's just like warming up to these beautiful things, and we're like, our song is 3 chords long. I mean, it's like there's not much to it. Let's see what you can do. And he's like, okay. Kid you not, it had to be like his first take. He just sat there with those 3 chords, maybe 2 takes. And
sorry about that.
Cool. And he just slammed those chords. You can hear how he's slamming those chords on Hey Now on the piano. He's really just letting it rip and throwing little riffs in there too. And that's
so with Franco, you brought in a ringer, I guess. You know, he just kind of
take one. He does the whole thing as you hear it on the record, and then stops, hits the space bar on the Mac, looks at me, and goes, "All right, I'm ready."
And then never again did he ever get something in 1 take.
Yeah,
he got so serious, like we all do. it really does hurt when you have to go back to like the original version. Like that was better than all of these redos I tried to do. But now, like every other time, we're like really trying to get like the right take, and that was the only time that he just let it rip.
Wow. So Garrett, how did you? So you came into an already established and working band, right? We had with Jake and Connor. So what was that like for you? And how did you feel instantly, or how did you feel that the match was that you guys kind of coalesced? Was that an easy process, or was there a learning curve?
There's only one learning curve. I'll get to that. But really, no, I was just excited. I mean, I was super excited. I'm the youngest one. I always have been, I believe. Have we hired anyone else?
No.
I think it's just me. No, like when they hired me in Dutchman, it was I don't know, I had to be 18 because I graduated at 17. This is a year after because it was 2019 graduated, 2020 all those releases came out, so it was 2020. I was 18. I was fresh out of high school, and military didn't work out for me, and I had another pathway available, and I was just like, I don't know, I don't think so. So it's just, what the hell do I like doing? And it was playing guitar. I mean, if there's a pastime and there's free time in my day, that's what I was doing. Or just watching videos on bands. I loved bands. It was awesome. But yeah, I mean, I was just excited to be there because I heard there's some old Dutchman material that may not even be around anymore, that may resurface or may never again. But it was some old stuff on like SoundCloud, right? And he sent me these songs. I'm like, this is a band I can get around. And I was like, and they're in Delaware? What the hell? Grew up with no friends that could play anything or even aspired to, right? I was the only person that's playing my guitar alone growing up in Middletown, Delaware. No one's, if you're in band, you're in band. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he met me and walked into the vintage room at Guitar Center.
Yeah, this dude has like, at the time he had a J160E for sure. Right?
Yeah, it was. I had a 1956 Gibson J160, just like John and George's, and it was 6 years older than theirs, or something. 8 years older than theirs. I think theirs were 62s, if I'm correct. So probably like 6 years, and that sent them through the roof. And then I have a 71 Fender Strat that I have just about sweat all of the paint off.
That J160 is used on In Your Heart, by the way.
Yes, I guess it was.
That was at Kirby's.
Yeah, so those guitars have a lot of character too. I mean, that's how they get that. From you sweating and using it, that sound gets a unique sound.
And just the materials they could use back in the day to make the instruments. It was just immaculate. The hand work that went into it, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
We have about 55 vintage guitars and equipment, and I will say this: our mothers did not buy us anything. We worked as hard as we could, shoveling snow and mowing lawns and playing gigs and saving every penny we had for everything you see behind us.
I see the Rickenbacker right between you guys, right behind you. So
you missed
there it is. Yep. For those watching on YouTube, you're getting a glimpse at the just some of the instruments.
Oh, let's get fiddle alley
that are used.
We just did a Battle of the Bands up in Yorkland, Delaware at DuPont Brewing on Saturday. So there is probably about 5 flight cases sitting in my hallway right now that I have yet to unpack.
Spoils of victory.
It
was a great time. It was a victory for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, we started with Springfield 79, as we always do, because that's a good way to get them in, and we ended with the fast part of Freebird.
Yeah,
nice.
And much like Steely Dan when they hire like Skunk Baxter in the early records and stuff, like Walter Becker is like, I'll just hop on bass, you know what I mean? So Connor O'Malley, his friend he was talking about earlier, that did the slide solo on the ending of In Your Heart, he came with us that night and he was ripping guitar with him. So we basically had, like he said, he's super trained. That guy can play. He was ripping it. So we basically hired Skunk Baxter to just rip guitar with us the whole time. So we were cooking.
We have more or less plans to go out as a 3-piece this year, but any night that we can get him, because like I said, I played with him for 6 years, so me and him are thick as thieves. So any night I can get him, he's been filling in for Franco's parts. And
you mentioned Springfield 79, which is an instrumental.
Yes.
So and as far as I know, going through your catalog, that's your only instrumental.
Yeah, that was a night where me and Garrett were by ourselves at the studio. We're like, hey, let's go to Guitar Center. So we drove an hour and a half up to Wilmington to Guitar Center, and we're like, we should buy something. So he bought a Gretsch, and I bought a Les Paul.
Quite honestly, I didn't want to buy anything. I was like, I'm driving up. I'm happy to shop. I'm going to look at what I want, and then we'll go home.
He left with a Gretsch Duo Jet.
He's good at finding cool stuff, so he was on the prowl. You know what I mean? I was just happy to be around, and so we're walking through Guitar Center, and we're just looking at the Gretsch line, right? All the Gretches lined up. Like, okay, we got some old. And he recently informed me about the Duo Jets and stuff like Electromatic, like whatever George Harrison played, like well before they actually got big and all that stuff. And then he had one on was it Cloud 9?
Yeah, it's on the cover. That's the original one that he used in the Beatles.
Yeah, he gave it. Right. I think he gave it to Klaus Vormann and then said, "I want it back." And then he had to get it restored. Why do I know this? Because we're actually doing an episode about Cloud 9 that'll be out after your guys'
episode. Awesome.
And I will be watching that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So
you know what? Let's go there. You guys have you've brought up Graham Nash. You guys have brought up Steely Dan in passing. If people don't know who Skunk Baxter is, well, he's also was in the Doobies, Doobie Brothers. So you guys are kind of I haven't even gotten to that. I mean, that's on my sheet somewhere, but what you can hear some of the influences, and I actually hear some different influence in some of your other songs. I hear Oasis, I hear Wallflowers, I hear a lot of different things. I hear Spin Doctors sometimes.
Okay. Okay.
But so
it's a funky piano. That's what that is.
Yeah. So what wellspring are you guys drawing from? What, Connor, you mentioned that Jake had was coming from a punk background. So why don't you talk a little bit about your influences, and then Garrett jump in also, and just so we kind of
the age of our fathers.
So my dad is going to be 70 in 2 years. Mm-hmm. He was a professional musician for about 40, 45 years. And I grew up, he's very old school. Like, so when I grew up, it was one TV. I'm sure you can relate to this. One TV in the house, no internet. If it's the middle of the day and you don't have school, get the hell out of the house and come back for dinner. And you are not supervised. And all of our music was vinyl records. And so I had his music collection. So it was all, Steely Dan, the Eagles, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Who, the Beach Boys.
And he was a musician.
Yeah, and he was a musician. So I got to sit around and watch all that growing up. I had like the front row seat for, the first 15 years of my life. Uh-huh. So I didn't even consider new music. That was the good music. He'd say that's the good stuff. So that's all I listened to. He'll tell you I'm a music snob. My wife would highly agree with that statement.
So, well, and Garrett, what about you? I mean, are you coming from the same? Is that why you guys gelled together? I mean, are you in the same mindset with your influences?
Very much so. Now, my dad, he's only 56. He's not quite as old as his dad, but I mean, he grew up on all that stuff. Like the '60s. He even grew up on like Motown music. '60s. A bunch of Elvis from his mother, all the great stuff. '70s, he graduated '84, so he's all into, like Van Halen and, all the '80s stuff, right? But, I just draw from everything because majority of everything that I listen to really is '60s and '70s. But I like the '80s and on, I just kind of pluck which ones are pretty freaking cool. You know what I mean? And especially with modern bands like Black Keys, like. There's cool stuff out there, you know what I mean? You gotta find it, but it's out there. Sheepdogs, they're a big one right now. They're up by you. They're up in Canada.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the band, they're good.
The band Feel, they're American, right?
Yeah, I think so. They're really good too. Goodbye Virginia is their new single. That one's really good. That one was big. I was like, wow, I like that better than Greta Van Fleet.
So like, yeah, definitely in the
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah, no, they're good now. Listen, I love Ghetto Van Fleet.
Dude, they came out at a perfect time, especially for me. I don't know where you were in your endeavors in music. I don't think I met you quite yet when they were first like getting big on YouTube, and then they got big. I found them and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was like, there's people doing it. Like there's people doing what the hell I'm trying to get at here.
I make jokes, but I really do. The fact that there's a band out there that actually got that far who's doing what we do, more power to you, boys. Get them.
Yeah. Exactly. So Connor, let me ask you. You have this rich background of music via your father, and then via the music he was playing, and that you played. So when you're writing a song, do those influences come out organically? Do you write something and say, wow, this kind of sounds like this, or are you looking for a sound when you're writing a song? You're saying, well, I really want to channel this type of a thing.
So I don't know. It's weird. So like On the Run, for example, was written on a ukulele. I got bored, and I buy, sell, trade guitars all the time. That's how I get us all our real cool stuff. And I was at a store, a little music shop down here called the Drum Pad, run by Honey Voschel. He used to be the drummer of the Honeycombs way back in the day. A cool dude, love Honey. And he's like, well, why don't you pick something out and we'll make the trade even up? So I picked a ukulele, not knowing how to play. I think I know like C, C7, and F. And that's like the whole song that we're playing. We're on the run. So I sat there for like 3 days just going, da, 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 and I just kind of hummed it out. I don't know. It's kind of ineffable for me. They just kind of like, they come out of the stratosphere for me, and you just kind of got to grab it while it's there. Okay, going nowhere. That was. I had the whole like main part of the song for the longest time, but I didn't know how to start it. But then I had that really weird piano thing at the intro that then came in later, and I was glued them together, and that was it. They kind of just come from all different places. He asks me what my songs are about, and besides 2 of them that are about my wife, in which she only likes 1 of them. The rest of them are all just kind of random. Yes, she does not like These Days because it starts with It's a Lonely Place. So I wrote her I Need You Now to make up for it. So all is
there you
well
go.
in the world. I get
you got some mileage out of her not liking it, because then it made you have to write another song.
That's right. She knew what she was doing.
She always knows what she's doing. She is the light of my life and the boss in this house.
Yep, absolutely. So you guys took a road trip from Delaware, right? You went to Nashville. I think you went to Ohio, right? Did you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
So
a wee trip.
Yeah, just a wee trip. So we went from here north through Wilmington. We were checking out venues and dropping off our press packs. So some of them we had called ahead about. Some of them we were just kind of checking out the areas. And then there was a couple things in Nashville we wanted to go check out gear-wise anyway, so it kind of worked out. Yep. We played with a couple bands in Nashville. That was cool. We got to join in and play a couple songs with them. And they had ironically heard of us. We had walked into a Guitar Center in like Knoxville, Tennessee. I wanted an SG. That was my Christmas present to myself. I wanted like a 64 like George Harrison's that he used in the Paperback Writer video. And I walk in, and the guy sees the tag on the case, on my Les Paul case, because I brought it in to check amps out too. And he's like, Dutchman, you from Delaware, brother? And I was like, yeah. But yeah, we went through Wilmington, all of Eastern PA, across PA to the Pittsburgh area, straight through Cleveland, stopped at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because, of course. Went all the way down through Kentucky, hit a bunch of venues there, went through Nashville, got to hang out with some fantastic musicians and some guys from the Gibson Garage. That was very cool. We got to go see one of the Gibson Garage guys play later that night with his band, which was fantastic. He invited us for that. And Carter's Vintage Music. Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. I almost died. Delaware is a wasteland of no equipment. If you'll get one good thing. There's only the one good story is Frantic Frets. They're fantastic. They actually carry gear and they care about the musician. And you know, when you walk in, it's more of a family atmosphere. Other than that, though, here there's not really much. I mean, Earl Teat in Dover is a Gibson dealer, and that's about it. The closest Guitar Center to us is an hour and a half away.
Wow.
We have Music and Arts, and they're cool, but you know.
Yeah. Yep, we
like our mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
Al and Mary have taken care of us, 100,000 times through the years.
That's where you get the good stuff. So did playing in Nashville, did that have any long lasting or ripple effect, kind of being down there and
in your heart
back with you?
In your heart.
In your heart.
There was a lot of, no one specific, but there was a lot of country bands. And that we're cocky, right? We like to think we are when we've had a beer. So we're sitting there watching a couple of these country bands. We're not big country fans, right? So we're sitting there like, well, I could do that. was like, that can't be that bad. I said, I know a guy that can play the lap steel. I could do that.
And everyone we're watching has like just an unapologetically modern taste and take on everything. And we're like,
yeah.
I mean, is it country?
Yeah.
I mean, what is this pop? Is this country?
Yeah.
And there is a fine line, you know, there really is. There always has been. But like, it's just, we were just like, we can go home and finish what we've started on something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Took it home.
Definitely a different vibe. Nashville has to be the nicest city I've ever been to. Like, I don't like, no offense to yourself. I know you said you're from New York. I do not like New York City. It is not nice. But Nashville, that's the one place I'll walk around with my hands in my pockets or out or just whatever with my nice suit on and not even think twice about it at 2 in the morning, leaving a club. It was, everybody was nice. Everybody was happy to help us get directions. The crew at Carter's Vintage was absolutely fantastically accommodating. They let us bring our vintage stuff in that we had with us to, that we were using to play to compare it to a couple others we might have wanted to buy for backups. And they were very cool. Same as Grun's guitars. They were fantastic. Sam Ash, not a great experience. Can see why they went out of business.
They're no longer with us.
I'm sure the Sam Ash in New York that was ran by Sammy Ash was very nice. I have no doubt in that because the family-owned ones usually are. But all the other stores across the country that I've been to in our travels have been nothing but rude. So that wasn't much of a surprise. Sports centers were cool. They were a little bit more laid back, a lot more taste in equipment. Like here, you find Squire, besides Frantic Frets, who have like the, vintage stuff. You find like Squires and like made in Mexico Fenders, which I have nothing against. I love the 90s ones. I think they're some of the best guitars Fender ever made. But when you're us and you're looking for all vintage stuff, it kind of gets dry pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, everybody's looking for it now. That's the whole, it becomes a mad scramble. You mentioned when you went to Nashville that there was this undercurrent of, Garrett said it. Well, what does country sound like? And is the new sound what country is? And I think you guys, it resonated with me because you guys represent that on the rock and roll side too, as well. That not that you have to sound like you're from the 70s because you're not, but you're getting that, or you're the techniques and the influences are being channeled through you, and what comes out is something totally different. I always say that where people, unless you're a cover band trying to sound like Led Zeppelin, when you process your influences, it comes out through you, which is always going to be something different. If there's some Beatles in there, if there's Graham, all these different things, and that's what makes it unique. So, and that's what I enjoy about listening to your music is, I can hear some echoes of other things, but then it's not like that as well. It comes out as something totally different.
I think what makes Greta Van Fleet, like I said, I make jokes, but I really do like them. I think what makes them so good, and in the same fashion, to be cocky, I guess, about ourselves, what makes us so good at what we do is that we're a product of our environment. I've watched a lot of their interviews where they talk kind of the same thing me and him are saying, where it's kind of just the environment we grew up in. So I think that's probably why a lot of the 70s artists sounded the way they did, because it fostered that reality. So like for me, I didn't have YouTube to learn how to play guitar. I learned from records just like everybody else back in the day did, and just much like what Greta Van Fleet said they did. So I think a lot of that to get the authentic sound is just being a product of your environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now in that, I cannot play most video games, and I cannot, you know what I mean? And learning off tabs is weird for me. Like, for as easy it is for me to listen to something and hear it by ear and learn it by ear, trying to watch a YouTube video and be like, what the hell is he doing? And it's like, it kind of put a roadblock for me there. So it's kind of a give and take, I think.
Well, you've trained yourself in a different way. That's why your ears are sensitive to it and can pick it up. Garrett, how important is social media nowadays in this new landscape of music promotion and getting yourself heard, right? It's not as easy. Everybody used to have, you'd get a contract, you'd have a manager, you'd have a promoter, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, with social media and just the way music in general is self-produced, self-distributed, for you guys, how important is social media and making that connection with people and spreading the word?
I say it is very important because that is your image and your brand, whether you like it or not. I mean, when people are going to look you up, they're going to find your social medias. So might as well have something in order, a couple ducks in a row, if you know what I mean. Spell things right, punctuate. You know, like you just do nice photos, not like
I would say
things in the world. You know,
any tool, a guitar, a hammer, a screwdriver is only as good as you can use it.
Yeah.
And like my dad will call me and he'll be like, because he's retired now, he'll call me and give us our congratulations for like the CBS thing on WBOC a couple weeks ago. And then the thing we're doing, you know, I guess we're watching today after this interview. And he'll be like, you guys are so lucky. You have the internet. One push of the button and it's all right there. He goes, dude, back in the day, we had to walk around, put posters up, sell CDs, sell shirts. He goes, everything is all immediate now. He goes, but, and then the other way, he goes, you're not very lucky because then the market is saturated.
Yeah.
Like now, one thing I'll say about Nashville, we were very lucky to have been invited to, I cannot remember the name of the club nor the name of the band, but I have the guy's phone number on my phone, so I'm sorry, gentlemen. But we played with 2 bands in Nashville, just got hopped up for a song or two. Once they saw us in the crowd, and they're like, hey, you guys look familiar. You in a band? And we're like, we're Dutchman. Oh, you should come up and do Feeling All Right with us, because that used to be a big staple in our set. Mm-hmm. And then the Blues Club, they were very nice and gracious to invite us up and play with them. But I would say the big problem about Nashville is so saturated. There's a literal bar. I don't know if you've been there before, but there's a bar here, 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 here for 2 miles. And then on top of those bars is another bar with another band simultaneously playing at the same time.
Right.
So to get a gig, try to get a gig there and get any notice of a crowd to notice you is probably damn near impossible.
What really hurt us walking around was, to what he just said, there was bands everywhere, right? Which was cool. That was great. We got to see everyone. But we walked into this one bar, which is conjoined to another, and it was the best music we heard all night, and there was no one in that bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, maybe one guy with a beer, like, at the bar. But we were like,
yeah, that was the band.
Like, these are the guys that deserve to be watched right now, and no one.
Yeah, sometimes when you have too much of a choice, you know, it thins out, right? And yeah, it could be people that are very deserving, and people are elsewhere. You know, when you have too much of a choice, sometimes you don't make any choice.
Whoever they were, I hope they got more gigs and they got seen because they were worth it.
So, like we said in the beginning, you guys have done 3 volumes, Dutchman Volume 1, 2, and 3. Is there going to be a Volume 4, or what's on the horizon? Is the numbering going to continue, or what do we have on deck for you guys?
So, Volume 1, 2, and 3 were only named Volume 1, 2, and 3 because nobody could agree to a name when everybody was still kind of making decisions together. Now, because I'm the only original guy left. In terms of like day one, now it generally runs by me and then goes through him and then goes through Fez, kind of thing. But back in the day, nobody could come up with it. So the Great Delaware Compromise of that year was 1, 2, and 3. Our next record is going to be called Springfield 78, and it'll start with Springfield 79, and then the last track, which will be heard soon, will be called Springfield 78.
Nice.
Which is like what we call our Hotel California Stairway to Heaven Freebird, whatever that version of that. I'm sure a lot of people say that. But
Rhapsody. It's the long one.
It's the long one. We call it the long one.
Layla, you know what I mean? Like the
awesome.
But we decided after Volume 2 we weren't going to do 3, but then we did 3, and then we decided we were going to do a record. So we've been mostly just releasing singles in preparation for Springfield 78, which should be in music stores online and on vinyl by June.
Nice.
What day in June? Don't ask me.
It'll be the very last day, very last
day in June. Awesome. Again, the 2 singles that are out right now are "I Need You Now" and "In Your Heart." We're gonna have links in the show notes to all to the YouTube, the Spotify, and website. But as we close out, I've got 3 fun questions. These are music related, so I want each one of you guys to take a turn, and I think it'll help. It helps me too. I like to hear this. So. We'll go with Garrett first, and then Connor. So, what would be, Garrett, your dream collaboration?
Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page.
If I just meet Jimmy Page, that'd be pretty cool.
Jimmy, if you're listening, he just wants to meet you.
Just want to meet you.
No, well, you want to, but you want to collab. You'd like to,
Dude, I mean, I just think the Black Crowes are like the luckiest guys around. You know what I mean? Because that was cool. Cool.
But, Connor, what would be your dream collaboration?
I'm torn between Billy Joel and Paul McCartney.
Ooh.
Those two are the top tier in my head because they are workhorses. Billy did it all himself with his band, of course, and Liberty DeVito, the fantastic drummer.
Yep.
And Russell Javers on guitar, and so forth and so on. But Billy had to write him, sing him, do it, the whole thing. And Paul is much attuned to that. I'm sure Paul, not saying anything against any of the rest of the Beatles, because I love Ringo. I've seen him 3 times live. But I think Paul probably would have been all right, whether he was Paul of the Beatles or Paul.
I think so. He's got something. He's got something in his DNA that allows music to literally roll. If you watch the Get It Back documentary that was on Disney,
don't get us started.
He's like literally he's like saying a word or a sentence, and then it's becoming a song, and it's just just it makes you feel like less than human. It's that this man we're alive when this man is walking on the planet. You know,
he is. I think in the history of the world to this date, the Guinness Book of World Records. I could be wrong, but the Guinness Book of World Records say he's the most successful music in the history of the world. I think he's worth like $600 billion or $1.2 billion, and he's self-made.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
He grew up in the same kind of lower middle class that we did, so he's really an inspiration to us all. It's like if he could,
I think I heard him say it too. He was like he's like our modern day Beethoven or Mozart.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Brian Wilson. I'll put those two are just to be alive when those two guys are making music is just incredible. Yeah. All right, question number 2. Garrett, what is the most and least fun about touring or gigging for you?
Touring?
What's the most and the least?
Touring
fun?
And gigging, the least fun immediately, the first answer I'm thinking of is being homesick. Because I just want to be home with the fiance and the dogs.
Sure.
So that's the worst part. Now, however, the best part is that when we're on stage and we're getting paid to do what literally everyone said we could not do, it's pretty awesome. And everyone's going along with us in the crowd. That it's infectious. Everyone's having a good time. I mean, the only bad things that happen are people's egos.
Yeah.
Everyone knows how to deal with that, right? So, I mean, that's it.
All right. Connor?
I think for me, the sleeping is my least favorite because you never know where you're going to be and you never know how it's going to be. And you never know if you're going to end up doing it in the car. Hopefully not while you're driving. But you never know if you're going to have to sleep in the car. And he'll tell you, I run off 2 hours sleep a night. That's probably how I've mustered the amount of songs that I have.
He's different.
So like when I go for that 2 hours, I want my bed, my wife, and you know what I mean, and my cats. And when I don't have that, I get a little cranky, and I'll go only so many days of sleeping in the back of a van or on a bus or in a hotel room before I start twitching a little bit, and then I just start. My wife will call me an old man. She goes, "You get grumpy like an old man," and I'm like, "Yeah,
yeah." There you go.
My favorite thing is torn between 2 again. It's guitar shopping because you never know what you're going to find in that pawn shop, and that's what I do all day. I always tell everybody I didn't get a drug problem; I got a guitar problem. So that's my favorite. Plus playing live. Never at the beginning of the gig, but always by the time we get to like
number 3.
Yeah, number 3 to on the run at the end, I'm already like, all right, it's all right. They like us. We're doing good. We're getting paid tonight.
Like we're doing our job. Like we are doing what everything else is just subsidiary. Like we need to do the socials. We need to play on TV. Like we need to do these things and be on like real tight niche, right? But yeah, I mean, it's just great. It's just great playing live.
Final question. We're going to pretend that streaming services do not exist. There's no streaming. Garrett, what 3 albums would you take with you when you're going to travel? You can't stream anything. So what 3 cassettes, CDs, vinyl, what 3 records are you grabbing with you to listen to on your trip? Connor has the advantage to think about it.
Yeah, all the Dutchman volumes. Yeah. Man, say it. I can't really. Ooh. As much as I want to say Physical Graffiti, I'd probably say, shock a lot of people, Houses of the Holy album.
Great album. Okay, there's one.
I think because you get No Quarter, you know what I mean? You get Deer Maker, all that stuff. The Ocean, but that's one I probably do. I'm just playing it safe here. Let's just go. Abbey Road, and what's got to be Bon Scott. You know what I mean? I guess Highway to Hell.
Wow. Well, you know what? That is certainly an eclectic.
There's much better albums I could pick if I actually could pick, but Eagles would probably be in there.
Right. Connor, three albums you're taking with you on your trip.
Cat Stevens, T for the Tillerman.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I said it.
I was ready for that one.
Hotel California.
Yeah.
See, I should have said the Eagles' greatest hits. Because then I would have got it all.
Well, I usually when I do these questions, I usually say no greatest hits because it's cheating. Because you're getting everything.
See, I tried to cheat.
Yep.
Hotel California, that is probably one of my favorite albums. Dear God. See, I want to say Abbey Road, but if he's going to be on an island near me, I'll just row my coconut over there. I'll just go row my coconut over there and get his. So probably the last one. Oh, wow. That's a hard question. That's probably the hardest question of all the interviews we've done in the last 3 weeks.
I take Abbey Road back. I won't let it be.
No, you don't.
Really? So this way, so Connor can take Abbey Road. Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not taking Abbey Road. Although I would love it, I'm not. I'm trying to think of I just had a really good third one. So I said Hotel California, T for the Tillerman.
T for the Tillerman.
Wings Over America.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Probably pronounce Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Okay.
Because that is one band. Everybody can call them rednecks all you want. That is the hardest working band you will ever have heard, and one of the tightest set of musicians you have ever heard.
Yeah.
Nothing's better than the picture of Paul McCartney watching and David Gilmour watching them play Freebird at Nebworth while smoking a joint in the crowd.
Yeah.
Going.
Yeah, they were in it.
Under the tongue.
Yeah.
They were in it to win it, but just got cut off at the knees.
Like a lot of
yeah. It was just horrible. So,
unfortunately,
well, guys, I think we've got our audience to get to know you probably better than you knew yourselves when you started. I think we kind of asked you a lot of strange stuff, but I appreciate you guys taking the time. The group is Dutchman, and their singles, the 2 singles are out now. Plus, there's 3 volumes of EPs. Plus, there's some live things. They got Springfield '79 is a instrumental there too. Connor and Garrett, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us, team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Again, look out. There's new music coming, so you can catch them on Spotify. They've got video there. You can check their performances out on YouTube. And then, of course, hit the website to see what they're up to and all the latest news. And we'll have links to all those in our show notes. So you can just click that and check out everything you need to. So again, Connor and Garrett, thank you guys for joining us on the 3324 podcast. That's going to do it. So for Connor, for Garrett, and this has been Dean, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.